This week, I'm going to lead you through a wall Yin Yoga practice. Let's get started. We're going to use a wall as our primary prop. You could have some other small props as well. I have a couple of blocks here, but you could have a bolster, some pillows, cushions, blankets, anything that you can use for giving your body a little bit of extra support. Once you have cleared a small wall space for your Yin Yoga practice, we're going to start looking for our first pose, which is going to be Sphinx pose with our shins, our legs against the wall. And you could have your other prop somewhere nearby. This is maybe the most acrobatic part of our practice. So we're going to come lying down on the belly and then slowly with knees bent, make our way close to the wall until our knees either touch the wall or almost touch the wall, so that you could then rest your shins on the wall. And we're going to just play with this shape a moment. So see if you want to have your knees wider apart, or if you'd like to have your knees close together. Are your feet leaning against each other? Do you want to lean your feet wider apart? Looking for a place that doesn't hurt in your back. And I would suggest first taking at least a few breaths with your head leaning either onto the mat or onto your hands. Just so that you get in touch with how you're feeling in your legs, around the pelvic area. Noticing that your spine is already in a back bend here. Then if you want to increase that back bend along your spine, you could slowly start to lift yourself onto elbows and forearms. And that will increase the back bend as you elevate your chest off the mat, off the floor. And this is where you could bring some props, maybe to support your head if you want. So you could have pillows, bolsters, blocks to support your head, so you could lean your head onto something. Elbows could be wider apart as well. Some people like to lean their chin onto a prop. We're going to spend here about 2 minutes. So let yourself find an edge that doesn't hurt. Find an edge where you feel safe. You might feel sensations of compression, especially in your lower back. There might be sensations of opening, stretching along the front side of your body. If at any point you start to feel pinching, sharp, stabbing pain in your body, then that is a sign that we need to either adjust the shape or come out of the shape. And to make the pose a bit more gentle, at any point, you could lean your chest and head back onto the mat. We could spend another 5 to 10 breaths in this Sphinx pose. Notice if you could release some tension around your shoulders or neck. You might need some adjustments in your arms. Notice if you can soften your breath. And give yourself a few more breaths in and out. Wherever you are in your wall Sphinx pose. And either after those few breaths or when you feel you'd be ready to slowly start transitioning to the next pose. First, if you have your chest elevated off the mat, move props aside and then lean your chest, your head back down onto the mat. Maybe turning one cheek onto the floor. And take a couple of breaths in and out. Just notice that change along your back if you've just come down from a bigger back bend. And then, in your own time, start to slowly roll onto your left side. So you might bring your left arm over, bend your knees closer to your belly, and you might make your way a bit closer to the wall. You might keep your feet on the wall, or if you want, you can even bring your pelvis to touch the wall. We're going to next open our chest up towards the ceiling into a reclining twist. So I've left my feet touching the wall, using the wall as a support for the legs. It can help your hips, your legs to release that extra tension, that extra holding when they can lean onto something like the wall. If you don't like that sensation, feel free to either move away from the wall, or you might extend your legs so that they are not touching the wall. Head can turn to one side or the other. So now allow your chest to open, allow your arms, your hands to release. After that Sphinx pose and after that quite closed pose, allow that opening along the front line. Also let yourself feel the support that you are receiving from the mat, from the floor. Let that support take all your weight so you can let yourself become rather heavy. You can let yourself sink down towards the earth. And then just observe the breath. Notice the natural waves rising and falling of each breath. At any point, you might adjust your pose. You might decide that you want to come out of the pose earlier. Practice with kindness and listen to your body. Respect your body, what it needs today. I'm suggesting we'd spend another 5 to 10 breaths in this twist. But if you feel that you want to come out of the pose earlier, you might slide onto your back and lift your legs up along the wall and take a rest in legs up the wall pose. towards the end of your 5 to 10 breaths, if you are still in that twist, give yourself a couple of just slightly deeper, bigger breaths in and out, preparing yourself for the next transition. And to release the twist, I'm suggesting that we close the chest and come back onto the left side. And then lying down on the left side, you could slowly make yourself closer to the wall, make your way closer to the wall, so that your pelvis could touch the wall or almost touch the wall before you swing your legs up onto the wall. Then you can still adjust the pose, the shape. So it could be that there's a gap between your pelvis and the wall. Wherever you feel that you could then rest your legs up against the wall. Knees don't have to be straight. Maybe your legs are slightly bent. And you decide again how wide apart, how close together you want your feet, your legs to be. You might bring arms overhead along the floor if that feels good in your shoulders. This is a very gentle inversion. So bringing our body into half upside down pose. Allowing legs and feet to rest. It might be that your legs start to feel heavier as you stay longer in this pose. It might be that your feet start to feel lighter. Just observe sensations that you feel in your body. If at any point you feel that you want to bend your legs, you might hug your knees in. Or you might open legs into a butterfly pose with your feet still touching the wall. That is going to be our next pose. So if you feel that you want to go there a bit earlier, you can. If legs up the wall pose still feels okay, we could spend another 5 to 10 breaths here. Again, just notice your breath. No need to make your breath any deeper or bigger than it naturally is. As we let our body quiet down for the Yin practice, we can let our breath quiet down as well. After your 5 to 10 breaths, you may continue your legs up the wall pose if that feels good. Or you could slowly start to bend the knees. Turn the soles of the feet towards each other. They don't need to touch, but just turning the soles of the feet towards each other and then letting your knees slowly bend. Letting your knees turn out to the sides, finding your wall butterfly pose. It could be that your feet slide very wide apart, away from each other. It might be that for you it's natural to keep your feet close together. Your hands might support your legs, either at the knee level
Or you might slide your hands under the knees. So you're in a way resting your legs onto your hands and arms. I'm suggesting we'll spend 5 to 10 breaths here. If the wall butterfly is not comfortable for your hips, you might hug the knees into your chest. Allow hips to stay in a more closed shape. Allow your neck and shoulders to stay soft. Give yourself a few more breaths in and out wherever you are. And then again, you might decide you want to continue your wall butterfly pose for longer. Or if you feel you're ready to slowly to let go of the pose, you could, with help of your hands, close your legs, bring your knees in towards each other, hug the legs in. Maybe gently rock from side to side a few times. Our next longer pose is going to be the twist to the other side. So you might be now closer to the wall than you were in that first twist. If you're okay with that, you could just let your legs slowly fall to the right side of the mat. If you want to find a similar support for your feet, for your legs, then take a moment to adjust your distance from the wall, so you can bring your feet onto the wall if you liked that variation on the first side. And then allow your chest to stay open up towards the ceiling. It could be that you find a different shape for your arms. They could be higher up, lower down. Your head might turn to one side or the other. Let yourself find your shape, your twist. And if you need to adjust, you might still adjust the pose. And it might be that the pose is slightly different on this other side. Always let yourself focus on how the pose feels like, rather than trying to fix yourself into a specific shape. The pose is there to serve your body, rather than your body serving the pose. And leave some space for your breaths. we might spend another 5 to 10 breaths in that twist. If that's where you want to spend those breaths. Again, it might be that your body is asking you to adjust or come out of the pose earlier. And listen to those invitations. You might spend a different amount of time on one side than the other. If after your 5 to 10 breaths you feel you'd be ready to slowly come out of that second twist, I'm suggesting that we're going to curl towards the legs onto our right side. And then slowly find our way up into a seat and onto all fours. And then we're going to go into supported forward bend. So lift yourself into a mini downward dog so that your feet are quite close to the wall but not touching the wall. And then sit down onto the wall. So you lean forward over the legs into a full forward bend and pelvis is leaning onto the wall. You might increase the distance between your feet and the wall. Maybe bend the knees so that you feel you are supported. If you want, you might bring some support under the head or under the chest using the props. We're going to spend here a couple of minutes, so make this pose as comfortable as possible. Make sure there's no pain anywhere. But with the support of the wall, we don't need to balance. We don't need to try to just stay on the feet. We have that support through the pelvis. And with extra support under your head or chest with different props, you might find more ease and release in the pose. If at any point you feel the pose is too much for today, you might find a child's pose. If the pose still feels manageable, give yourself another 5 to 10 breaths there, in and out. Soften the neck, soften the shoulders. And then either after your 5 to 10 breaths, or when you feel you'd be ready to release this forward bend, just very, very slowly move your props aside. Start to shift the weight back onto your feet and walk hands forward, either into a downward dog or just bring yourself onto hands and knees. Next, we're going to find our resting pose, Shavasana pose. I'm suggesting we come lie down on the belly. But if you would now like to have your front line open, then turn to lie down on your back. Bring yourself far enough away from the wall so that you have room to release your feet. You might turn one cheek on the mat if you like, or maybe have hands under the head. Find any easy pose. And we're going to rest here. Invite your full awareness back to your breaths, allowing your mind to rest in your breaths. And I'll leave you here for 5 minutes, and then I'll wake you up after those minutes so you can truly let yourself sink in. Rest and relax. Give yourself a slightly deeper breath in and let a long breath out. Take another deeper, bigger breath in and let another long breath out. Let yourself feel those movements of your breaths. And then you can slowly start to bring some gentle movement back to your fingers, your toes. You can move your hands, move your feet. Whether you're lying down on your belly or on your back, you could bend your knees and gently swing your legs from side to side, allowing gentle movement. Just slowly waking up your body from that resting pose. Then in your own time, slowly roll down onto one side. It could be the left or the right side. Which one feels more natural to you now? Pause there to breathe. And then in your own time, bring yourself up into a seat. Into your own final seated pose. And give yourself a few more breaths here, slowly closing the practice. If it's a part of your practice, you might bring your palms together in front of the chest. And as always, at the end of the practice, most importantly, thank yourself for slowing things down, for taking some time to look after yourself. And I thank you very much for joining in. Namaste. Thank you.